Hello there and welcome to your Module 1 video. Today we're going to talk about EFT, what EFT is, why we would use EFT, and how to do EFT. So let's first talk about the what. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques or Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's also known as tapping. You may have heard about it through Hay House or seen it on the Dr. Oz show. And essentially what EFT is a combination of Western psychology, talk therapy methods, and Chinese medicine. And we use the same acupuncture points in EFT that acupuncturists do. However, the really cool part is that there's no needling necessary. It's completely safe. And you can do it by yourself whenever you need it. So that's what EFT is. Now, EFT was accidentally, as so many great discoveries are, by a psychiatrist named Roger Callahan. And Roger Callahan was working with a woman who had a water phobia. He was working with her for about 2 years, which is a very long time in my world to cure a phobia, but that's what was happening back then. And she had this fear of bodies of water, such as lakes, swimming pools, etc. And after about 2 years, he was able to get her to the point where he could get her about 6 feet away from a swimming pool with her back to the water. And so he was working with her one day in session, and he says to her, "How do you feel?" And she says, "I feel nauseous." Now, Roger Callahan was a psychiatrist, but as I mentioned, he was also studying the acupuncture points. So he knew that this point here, the cheekbone point, is connected to the stomach point in Chinese medicine through what's called a meridian. Now, a meridian is like a little energy superhighway that runs through the body. And we're going to talk more about energy and energy psychology in a minute. Now, what happened was as he was doing the session with this woman, and she said she was nauseous, on a whim, he says, "Can I tap underneath your cheekbones?" And she's like, "Okay, well, I've been here for 2 years. I have nothing to lose, so go for it. Go ahead and try it." So she's talking about her nausea and her fear of the water, and he starts tapping on this point under her cheekbone. And after a minute, he says, "How do you feel?" And she says, "It's gone." He says, "Oh, the nausea's gone?" And she says, "No, the fear of the water is gone." And she runs over to the swimming pool and starts splashing around in it. And he's just sitting here completely dumbfounded because he didn't know what happened, but he had accidentally discovered this method. And since then, it has evolved into the most rapid growing area of energy psychology in the world. Now, if you're wondering what energy psychology is psychology that takes into account not only our intellect, but the body and more importantly, the body as an energy system. Science has proved that we have these electrical currents that run through our body, right? You can actually measure that. You can actually see that there is an impulse that we all have that runs through our body. In the Eastern cultures, they tend to refer to it as chi, and you may have also referred to it as life force. Now, what happens is when you have a negative emotion, that it creates a blockage in that flow of energy, in the flow of the chi or the life force in your body. So with EFT, we have the opportunity to unblock the current and get you back to your full life force. My clients so often tell me, no matter what they came in with, they'll come in and they'll tell me that they feel so much lighter and freer after the session. And that's the point. It's to clear space. It's to help you feel better rapidly. I've had so many people tell me they felt better in 4 EFT sessions than they did in 2 years of therapy. Now, that's not to negate traditional therapy because there's some wonderful things about that. It's just that I've noticed with EFT, it's just a lot faster and more effective method of doing healing work, which is why I love it and use it so much and why I wanted to bring it to you. So that's what EFT is. And as far as why we do EFT, I'd like for you to think of this in terms of if you were going to plant a garden and that garden hadn't been tended to in a while, and let's say the garden was overrun with weeds. Now, you may have a plan for your landscape. You may know where you want to plant things. You may know what you want to plant. But in order to have a healthy garden, you would first need to clear up the weeds so that the weeds don't suck the force, the life force, and the nutrients out of the new plants that you would be planting, right? So what you're doing when we manifest, anytime we manifest, we first must plant the seeds of manifestation. That's when we do things like creating new thoughts and beliefs. We're saying affirmations. We're planting the seeds of manifestation. And then, of course, if we want to see our manifestations actually come to fruition, we need to provide a fertile and healthy soil environment for that plant to grow up into a healthy, strong plant. So EFT essentially will do two things. Number one, it will help you clear away the weeds, right? So any negative, old negative emotions that you're feeling or are still stuck in you from a long time ago, from your past, any beliefs that are no longer serving you. With EFT, we have this wonderful opportunity to release those in a gentle and nurturing way, very easily, very rapidly, and very effectively. And when we tap in positive affirmations, it's sort of like we're giving it fertilizer. I've noticed that affirmations are a lot more effective when we do them with physicality, especially for those of you that are kinesthetic learners. Rather than just saying an affirmation, as we're sitting there, if we're doing an activity or a motion, if we're physicalizing our affirmations, I've noticed that tends to embed it into our subconscious mind a little better. So that's what EFT is. Stands for, again, for Emotional Freedom Technique or Emotional Freedom Techniques or tapping. It's also known as tapping. And that's why we do EFT, is so that we can release the stuff that's no longer serving us and so that we can affirm the stuff that we do want. Now, as far as how to do EFT, you guys, this is so simple, you're not going to believe it. I can teach it to you in 1 or 2 sessions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go over how to do the tapping and some of what are called the basic recipe tapping points that we'll use for the script that you have in your Module 1 worksheet that I'm going to also take you through today. So here's how you do tapping. You take one hand and you gently start tapping on your body. It's really that simple. Now you can use all 4 fingers. A lot of people like to use 2 fingers. The great thing about EFT is it's really hard to screw up. You don't have to count how many times you tap. I would say as long as you do at least 5 times in each area, you're good. As far as pressure, you don't want to be so light that you can't feel it. And of course, you don't want to tap so hard that you harm yourself, which may sound silly, but obviously if you were tapping on anger, you just want to be careful that you're not taking it out on yourself, right? So we want to just have like a nice medium pressure and you would just tap. Now this place that I'm tapping on here, we call this the side of the hand or the karate chop point. You'll notice I'm tapping right here on the side of the knuckle, and you can go ahead and just try this with me. You just tap gently. That's all you do. One really cool thing about EFT is that just the process of tapping will help calm you down and can release endorphins, which are the same things that get released when we exercise. So you don't have to run 4 miles anymore to get some endorphins. You can just start tapping on your body. Isn't that cool? All right, so this is our side of the hand point. The next point that we might use would be the top of the head. And what I want you to do for this point is tap in a nice little circle, right? Maybe like a 3-inch circle. And then we're going to go to the eyebrow point. Now for the eyebrow point, we want to come right to these points on the bridge of the nose. And you're going to take 2 fingers and tap on each little corner there. Then we'll move to the side of the eye. These are the temples, right here on the side of the eye. Under the eye, our cheekbone point is right on the cheekbone. The top of the lip is just here on the top of the lip. The chin point is here on the chin. And then we move to the collarbone point. This is probably the most difficult point to find, but it's not all that difficult. You take your hands onto your collarbones. You trace them in. And you'll notice there's this little U-shaped bone with a little dent, a little dip, right? A little hollowed out part. And then if you notice at the top of the U, there's 2 little bony points. You want to take 2 fingers and you want to tap, or 2 hands, but you want to be tapping on both of those. You tap on the little bony points. The next spot is the sternum. This is right here in the center of the pectoral muscles, or the wide flat bone that holds the ribs together. You want to be tapping right there. This is a great place to tap for unwanted emotions that are really old and really stuck, whether they be grief or sadness or anger. It's just a great place to really release all that stuff. The next place that we're going to tap is over the heart. Now, it's not actually over the heart. It's just what we call it. It's right here above the pectoral muscle on your left side. So if you're mirroring me, it'd be that side. right? But I'm going to tap here, so the opposite, you're going to tap on that side. And then you're going to tap here in a little circle, right? Again, about a 3-inch circle. That's our over the heart point. And then the last spot that I'm going to teach you today is the other side of the chest. So this time we'll be tapping on the right side. So again, your right, this is, if you're mirroring me, that would be your left, that side for you, okay? So now what I want to do is I'm just going to, when we do EFT, we tap and talk at the same time. And there's 2 ways of doing this. When I work with my one-on-one clients, often I'll just customize a session right on the spot. I'm trained in doing that, and I also instruct and teach other people how to do that. So I will customize the sessions. The other way that we can do it in this setting is we use what's called an EFT card or an EF script. So you have one, looks just like this in your Module 1 worksheet handout. So if you want to pull that up now, hopefully you have that ready. What we're going to do is I'm just going to read it and tap like you would. Now, a couple of things before we start. You'll notice that at certain points I may say he or she. Obviously, just customize that to what works for you, meaning if you're a man and you date women, and you prefer women, just say she, right, etc. The other thing is you'll notice at certain points I may talk about a higher power. Now, if you have a higher power that you believe in and they have a name like God, Jesus, Buddha, Gehunzen, etc., then just go ahead and fill in the name of your higher power. If you use the universe, source, whatever you use, I've heard 100 different variations of this, and I want it to be authentic for you, connected with whatever your higher power, whatever name for higher power works best for you, or you could just use higher power. Now, if you don't believe in a higher power, I've heard people who don't believe in higher power use things like nature or energy or the energy that creates worlds or the nature of things. So just find something that works for you. This isn't about dogma. It's just about connecting to life force. It's about connecting to energy. However, whatever you call that. All right, so let's start on this side of the hand. We'll do this together. So go ahead and tap with me now. We're going to tap on the side of the hand, the right hand on the left hand. And so remember, it would be opposite here, okay? So you're going to say with me, I'm aware. So you'll repeat after me. So I am aware that there is a part of me that desires to manifest my soulmate. Now let's move to the top of the head, repeating after me. I am also aware that there may be other parts of me that have fears and concerns about what that may mean. Now let's move to the side of the eye. Today, with the help of my higher and wiser mind, I am willing to consider that I can release these fears and concerns. Tapping under the eye, I am willing to consider I can have a peaceful and joyful experience of attracting my soulmate. Top of the lip. Even though I have these fears and concerns, I choose to align with my highest good. On the chin. Even though I have these fears and concerns, I choose to align with my highest good and the highest good of those around me. Okay, on the collarbones. Even though I may be having trouble believing that my soulmate exists, today, with the help of my higher power, I am willing to consider that he or she does. On the sternum. Even though I have tried so many times, and it seems like I have failed to manifest love, I am willing to consider I can still attract my soulmate. There is no such thing as failure, only feedback. Even though parts of me are doubtful or skeptical that I can attract my soulmate, with the help of my higher power, I am willing to consider that I can attract my soulmate with ease. I release any limiting beliefs, thoughts, feelings, or old patterns that no longer serve me. Over the heart, I choose love. I choose peace. I choose to remember the truth of who I am and that I deserve love and happiness in every way. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhale and breathe it all out. Let's do that one more time. So breathing in love. Breathing out anything that no longer serves you. Just take a moment to tune in to how you feel. Notice how you feel now. Compare it to how you felt before we did the tapping. It's always a good idea to take note of how you feel before and then after the tapping. I hope that you enjoyed learning about EFT and doing the EFT for believing in soulmate love. If you like EFT and you'd like to explore it more and you feel like you have more that you'd like to clear and release and let go of to create that fertile soil to attract your soulmate, just know that this is something that you can do in your private session or any other subsequent private sessions with me. Okay, until next time, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.